Hello and welcome to You Talking to Me. It takes some time until the new commission is put together. Is it worth waiting? And what will happen to the last vacant post in the commission? That's our topic today. And we want to discuss it with our partners, with Yann-Anthony Noguès from BFM Business. Bonjour, Yann-Anthony.
Bonjour, hello, Daniela.
With Matjaz Trost, he is Brussels correspondent from RTV Slovenia. Hello, Matjaz.
Hello.
And with Artjoms Konohovs, he's Brussels correspondent from Latvian Radio.
Yes,
hello,
hello.
Artjoms.
Hi.
Matjaz, obviously we are going to start with you, since Slovenia is at the front page of this whole procedure right now. Alenka Bratusek, the Slovenian candidate, failed in the parliament, and the government named a new candidate with Violeta Bulc. Who is she, and is she really the right one?
Well, the answer to that is we don't know, because apparently, she has been in politics, in top politics, for only 3 weeks now, and she's been a minister for development with so far basically no job at all, because the government hasn't yet proposed anything on that area. So it's really difficult to answer that. She was an entrepreneur, she's a motivator, she has a very interesting background, going to shamanic.
I read that she's a shaman and a firewalker. Will she bring something new in this commission?
Yeah, she might, if she passes this test with Juncker first, because, nobody really knows what she is capable of. But apparently she was a good motivator and a good leader. So if she can transcend that from her private life or her business life into politics, then she might actually be a good commissioner, but we don't know yet.
Yann-Anthony, will a newcomer like her make it through the hearings in the parliament?
Well, if she's a firewalker, I didn't know that, Daniela, she might. The problem with that is that the process of the hearings was supposed to be over now. And there was supposed to be a vote for the whole commission next week, on October 22nd, so that the new commission comes into force on November 1st. But now, if she's got to be auditioned, because obviously she has to, because she's got to be a good commissioner and she's got to be good at her post. And we don't even know what her post is. So let's say now we're Tuesday. Let's say she's going to be auditioned next Monday. That gives her less than a week to train and to learn her stuff, basically.
Artjoms, Alenka Bratusek did not do very well in her hearing, but so did others. So is she nothing more than a pawn sacrifice? Did she had to fail so that the parliament can show its strength?
Well, some people say, of course, that, the two big groups, the EPP and the Social Democrats, just agreed that they had to fail someone, and it was very conveniently that one of the weakest candidates was also from Liberals, so they don't have to fail anyone from their own midst. So that was, of course, a very helpful part in that. And in this particular case, of course, it would be very strange if two candidates from Slovenia fall one after another.
Matjaz, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, there's one major difference between Bulc and Bratusek, and that is that Bratusek didn't have any support at home, no support from the government at all, while Bulc has just been nominated by the new prime minister, so at least she could count on being supported at home.
Mm-hmm. There was another one on the list, the first list Jean-Claude Juncker got from the Slovenian government. It is Tanja Fajon. She's a social democrat. And the social democrats claim that she should be the one nominated by the government. She was our guest in our show last week, and we asked her whether she thinks that she would have done better than Alenka Bratusek. Here's what she said.
We followed the hearing very closely. I think we all are aware of the situation. Ms. Bratusek didn't leave a very good impression, that I have to say. At the time being, I cannot say what will happen. I can just say that I regret. It was not a very comfortable feeling for none of us, and I believe neither for her.
Says the rival of Alenka Bratusek, Tanja Fajon. After the failure of Bratusek, she got support from the Social Democrats, but not only from them, also from the European People's Party. Both claimed that she should be the nominee of her country. Were you surprised, Yann-Anthony, by this common call?
As Artjoms said, it's easy for the EPP and the Socialists to agree, especially if it's against a Liberal. It was the same for Jonathan Hill, the British candidate, who's from the ECR, the British Conservatives. So basically, no, it's not surprising to see the Socialists and the Conservatives agree, because they have basically the same interests in the end.
I think the sensitivity was shown by Prime Minister's refusal, a rebuttal even, saying, you are not going to dictate us how to work on this. So basically, they really damaged Tanja Fajon in this race. The EPP and the Socialists. So it really backfired on him, on them, and on her.
Still, the nomination of Violeta Bulc was as controversial as the one of Alenka Bratusek. Is this a sign of the chaotic political situation in your country?
Yeah, indeed, it should be a sign of that. But it's also it also has to do with an interesting way of picking commissioners in the government, because you have to have 9 votes against not to agree on her or him. And in this case, basically, you just had 6 votes against and 7 votes against and 6 votes in favor, which means that all the others who abstained really voted for her. So it's kind of an interesting way of proposing commissioners and decision making in the government. So that makes a lot of problems in Slovenia as well.
Okay, at this point, I'd like to introduce a question from our Facebook page. Hervé Moritz asked in a post whether Violeta Bulc will really become vice president of the Commission. Artjoms, Violeta Bulc at the same level than Dombrovskis, Mogherini?
I think it's highly unlikely, because really the newcomer with no experience in politics. Yes, the deputy prime minister in Slovenia at the moment, but for 3 weeks. So it is, all the vice presidents except the 2 were actually former prime ministers. So in that sense, I think there will be. It is very unlikely that a person with such a background can get a vice presidentship, but that will of course mean the reshuffle of portfolios, and that will of course. Here I agree with Yann-Anthony that it will prolong the whole story, and it's becoming increasingly unlikely that a commission will start its work in November 1st. It's more likely that it's December 1st, so that it will be approved in Strasbourg 1 month later, which of course is nothing dramatic in of itself. It has happened before, and the current commission with Barroso will just continue working. And the commissioner Nelly Cruz has said that she wouldn't mind recently that November 1st would be a week later, because she has so much unfinished business that she still wants to push forward.
New portfolios would mean new additions.
Yes.
Yann-Anthony.
Well, obviously, because
it wasn't clear yesterday. There wasn't a very clear answer on that from the Commission.
Well, the logic would mean that, because each committee in the European Parliament voted on 2 points, 2 separate points regarding each candidate, commissioner designate. Either if the person was a good commissioner and good at his post. Mm-hmm. So there is a vote to fill in every time. So I figure... At
least the second part should be redone then.
And at least 1 or 2 weeks to prepare for these additions is necessary. So it might take some time. But on the other hand, it could be tricky, because Jean-Claude Juncker and his head of staff we're going to see are tricky people, and they know that in terms of budgetary control, there are important dates to come and decisions to make regarding many countries in Europe, France, Italy, and others. And maybe he would like better to have the Barroso Commission take care of these harsh decisions before it leaves, and so then he just has to deal with it, and Juncker doesn't have to start off with such problems.
If we talk about the present current structure of the Commission, Pierre Moscovici, the French Commissioner for Economy, would be supervised somehow by Valdis Dombrovskis, the Vice President for the Euro and Social Dialogue. Do you expect the big fight between both of them?
So if you ask Pierre Moscovici, but Artjoms, maybe we can discuss this, but if you ask Pierre Moscovici, there's no such word as supervision. No, he will say that there are vice presidents in charge of themes, and then there are commissioners in charge of portfolios and who have the staff under them. Valdis Dombrovskis, he's a Latvian conservative who fought harshly against recession in his country, and who ended like a third of teachers, and he closed many hospitals, and he was. In terms of austerity, he's not at all on the same line as Pierre Moscovici, so it's going to be complicated. And I think it's pretty impressive what he's done in terms of the numbers. But now, who's going to decide? The problem with Pierre Moscovici is that he's in between two seats, because France wants him to do something, and Berlin and Brussels want him to do something else. Today, he's in front of the Assemblée Nationale in Paris, and he's answering the questions of the French members of Parliament who are telling him, you're not going to be harsh on us, are you? After saying exactly the contrary 10 days ago in the European Parliament. So, but anything that Pierre Moscovici will do will have to be in some way ratified, signed by Valdis Dombrovskis. So it's going to be interesting.
Artjoms, Valdis Dombrovskis, in an interview with Latvian Radio, remained rather vague on this relationship. What do you expect?
Yes, we also talked here in Brussels last week, and he was just as vague. You know, he wouldn't use words as supervision. He would say, yes, the coordination is his main word. So we're going to have coordinate, we're going to have to work as a team, it's all going to be nice, we talked, and it's all going to be good. But of course, the game here is that the smaller countries are given vice presidentships, and they are saying, well, you see, you're going to be vice president, you're going to have an important position. And then the bigger countries are said, oh, you see, well, they are vice presidents, but they don't even have the DGs and, directorate generals under them. So what can they do? You will have the real power and the people. That's a game that is played by Juncker, obviously, when dividing the positions, So that's, of course, will be very tricky, and I think both Dombrovskis and others are cautious about how it's all going to play out. They don't know it yet, and therefore the answers are very kind of politically correct, if I would use that word, even off the record, even when, they're just saying, well, we're going to have to see how it all works. It's not tried out, so we simply don't know. But as of his record, yes, Dombrovskis is famous with one kind of simple line of policy, that we have just as much money as we have, so we can't spend more that you've got. If you have 10 euro in your pocket, then you can spend 10 euro. That's it.
Okay,
and the French are famous for the contrary.
Okay, and that's it for today. Thank you very much, Yann-Anthony. Thank you, Matjaz. Thank you, Artjoms, and thank you all, and see you soon on You Talking to Me.